Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Racing Show. It's Monday night, 7 o'clock. What else are you going to do, right? Some race talk, lost speedways. And tonight we're going to look at some lost speedways. We're going to look at I-70 Speedway in Missouri, the Middle Georgia Raceway, and obviously in Georgia, and the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway, which those on Long Island will find interesting. And I'm sure people who are not on Long Island will find it interesting. However, people on Long Island probably have driven on the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway. We're also going to have some of the results out of the Gateway Motorsports Park, where the Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series ran, as well as we're going to talk about the K&N Pro Series East, heading to the Midwest only to be rained out. And we'll talk about some sponsor stuff. The Hyman's Museum of Auto Racing Nostalgia held their annual reunion. We'll talk about that briefly because we're putting a show together that'll probably air in a couple weeks. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the points and how they're coming to be, how the things with the playoffs in NASCAR. And then we'll just talk some racing stuff and go from there. But anyway, lost speedways. The first lost speedway we're going to talk about is the I-70 Speedway, which is located in Missouri, east of Odessa in Missouri. And I-70 was a track near Interstate I-70. It opened in 1969, closing in 2008. And then in 2019, it's scheduled to be reopened as a clay oval. But as you can see from the condition of that track, you wouldn't be able to race pavement cars there, as Mother Nature has taken over. It was built and owned by Bill Roberts, and the track hosted NASCAR Camping World Truck Series races in 95, 6, 7, 8, and 99. The asphalt track was a half mile with a 3/8 mile dirt track as well. It was repaved as it was reclaimed as one of the fastest and highest banked short tracks in the United States, which that says a lot. And during the late 70s, though, however, the track was sold to Mr. Weld, who turned it back to a dirt track. Roberts held the mortgage on the facility and took the track back in the early 80s because the payments weren't being made in a timely manner. He made it back to asphalt, and NASCAR sanctioned the I-70 Speedway. Now, I-70 Speedway was known as the home track to Monster Energy Cup champion Rusty Wallace and Clinton Boyer, and also Larry Phillips, a late model national champion who has over 2,500 victories in NASCAR's late model series. Many people think there are more that are undocumented for whatever reason. The track was sold in the mid-90s to Ted Carlson, who sold it to Brad McDonald. Rumor has it I-70 was purchased with a plan to reopen again in 2019 as a half-mile dirt track and with the addition of a drag strip. Now, if you look at some of those pictures at I-70 Speedway, Mother Nature has reclaimed it. And you see that's an aerial shot of the racetrack with that road leading to what they call the garage area. When you look at that, the trees are grown through the infield and actually through the grandstands out. Now, you look at those grandstands, trees have actually grown from underneath the grandstand and through the grandstand. There'll be a lot of work to get that fixed. And be able to put seats, put people in the seats there. But this is what Mother Nature does. It takes back what you took from it. And I watch a show sometimes on the History Channel, and and I forget the title of the show, but it shows areas of the world that have been abandoned by man, and they take these photos and they show after 10 years, after 20 years, after 30 years, after 40 years, and usually between 40 and 50 years, you can't even tell what was there, because Mother Nature just takes over. And when you look at pavement, as the stuff goes through it, it pushes through tiny little cracks, and the cracks become bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, the pavement is all gone. So, this just goes to say, when you look at your local racetracks, wherever it might be, whatever state of the country you're in, whatever province in Canada you're in, or Mexico, or even in the Euro Series, which also, they all have weekly racing. When you look at that, you want to say, hey, there aren't too many new racetracks being built. Let's keep the ones we have. Let's keep those tracks alive, support them. And otherwise, they're going to end up like I-70's looking, even though there's talk in 2019 of bringing it back as a dirt track. The next track we're going to look at is Middle Georgia Raceway. Middle Georgia Raceway was located in Byron, Georgia. They held 9 NASCAR Cup races there between 1966 and 1971. And the track opened in 1966 at a cost of $500,000. And Richard Petty won more than his share of races. And in fact, the first race he won there was a half-mile race, and it was a 100-lap, and he broke the speed record for a half-mile race at a speed averaging over 82 miles an hour. Now, understand this was 1966, and who knows what that would relate to in today's times. However, that was a fast half-mile racetrack, and that was a 100-mile race, 82 miles per hour. In 1967, federal agents discovered a moonshine distillery under Turn 3, in the catacombs under Turn 3, and shut the track down for that season. But racing returned in 1968, serving as the Cup's first race of the season on their schedule. The track closed in 1986, and the property is owned by a real estate company. And what they're doing with it, I mean, all this year, you're talking 32 years later, and it's just sitting there, and you look at those pictures sitting there decaying. Again, Mother Nature taking over and tearing up the pavement. And if you bought that and tried to make it a racetrack again, you look at that, that's a turn, coming out of the turn there in that picture. There's no way. You'd have to start over. So even if you paid any back taxes due, bought it from a real estate company, and had to start over, you'd probably be better off finding a piece of land somewhere else and building, which is unfortunate. And how these racetracks fall into such disarray, owners walk away, investors walk away. As one track investor that I was talking to that walked away from a racetrack, he said that sometimes you just got to stop the bleeding. You can only write it off for so long. And, they put their money into these places to make money, not lose money, even break even if they can, just to get this started. But, non-racers are in this business for the business, to make money. Racing people are like, oh, I'll keep it going, keep it going, keep it. And this is coming from people who have, 9 to 5 jobs or 3 to 11 jobs or whatever, who don't know what it's like to have to write a check for like $50 million or pay property taxes that it could cost a couple of $100,000 a year. And that's why these tracks fall into disarray. Because if you're not racing, you're not putting people in the seats, you're not making any money. And they fall into this state as, I mean, that's pretty bad. There's nothing left of that place at all. So it's a shame. It's a shame what happens to these racetracks across the country that are just abandoned. And our last and final, because we try to do 3 every week, is the Vanderbilt Cup races that were held on Long Island. They were built by William K. Vanderbilt Jr. and which held its first race in 1904. A 30-plus mile event over public roads at the time. By 1906, drivers were coming from all over the United States to race at this racetrack on Long Island, and people came from all over the United States, including France, Germany, and Italy, as well as over 250,000 viewers watching from the side of the road to witness the events. A spectator who had wandered onto the raceway to get a better view, so to speak, and he was too close, was killed by an out-of-control car in 1906. Racing almost came to an end as a direct result of that. But then Vanderbilt purchased the property to continue the races and also allowed public traffic to access from Queens, which is a borough in New York City, all the way out to Lake Ronkonkoma. And there's a map of the track. It's in red there. And on December 3rd, 1906, the Long Island Motor Parkway Incorporated was formed by Vanderbilt, who was the president of the corporation, with a vice president named Harry Payne, and who was also involved with the racing, and his treasurer was Jefferson Des Moines Thompson, and other notables were also on the board to make this happen. Henry Ford, August Belmont, Frederick Bourne, John Jacob Astor, Mortimer Schiff, Clarence McKay, and they purchased a 100-foot wide right-of-way with 50 feet of racing surface. There's a picture of a car going down the motor parkway in the early years. And what they also did was railroad crossings that interfered with the racetrack. This group built bridges for the rail, as you see one there, and they also built bridges for the end tunnels for the roadways, the public roadways to go over and through it. However, the construction of the bridges and tunnels was a lot of work. In fact, when these bridges and tunnels were torn down, the people or the companies hired to do it had a very difficult time because the materials and the engineering that was used at the time was far beyond what these guys knew to take it down. It was kind of interesting. It was very interesting. Now, the entire distance was fenced off after this group purchased all the right-of-ways and the properties. But public access to the road became a toll road. Now, it's 1906, 1907. To get on this road, the toll was $2. Now you're saying, what's $2? It's 1906. So in 2018 dollars, that's $45. Think about that. Some people didn't even make that a week. So when you go to use this road, and there were places that people can get on, and there was access to it to leave the city and go out to the island and enjoy yourself. But the toll was used to pay for the road. Most of the bridges and tunnels, as I said, were demolished due to urban expansion during the 50s and the 60s. Now, in 1937, Vanderbilt offered the roadway to the New York State to make a highway dealing with Robert Moses, who was then head of the Long Island Parks Commission, who had plans to build the Northern State Parkway. Vanderbilt thought that the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway would be a perfect road for that. However, the Northern State Parkway was needed to be a little wider, and they were just having trouble getting the right-of-ways from the farmers and property owners at the time. So the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway kind of just closed, and it closed officially in April of 1938. The property was then given to the borough of Queens for the stretch of road that was in Queens, and then Nassau and Suffolk counties for back taxes which were not paid on the property over that time period. 13 miles of the original roadway were incorporated into the Suffolk County road system and is now known as County Road 67. Nassau County incorporated small sections of their road system where others was used by utility companies for power lines, such as at the time the Long Island Lighting Company. The rest was sold off to developers. So as you look at some of those pictures, that picture is at the start of the Motor Parkway in Queens, and it was a big event. It was a real big event back then. And if you look at some of the pictures of the roadway, you wonder, how a man could assess a fortune like this and go out and build a racetrack that goes from Queens through Nassau into Suffolk County, ending at a lake, which they built a pavilion at Lake Ronkonkoma for like the awards banquet for that event. So the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway, another raceway, in fact, it was known as America's first racetrack. It certainly is not going to be the last, because it was around for a long time. And like I said earlier, County Road 67 in Suffolk County, New York here, is the original way. And if you want to go have some fun, just take a ride on it. Definitely take a ride. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We'll have results out of the Xfinity and the Camping World trucks out of the Gateway Motorsports Park when we come back.
Hey, what's up? Oh, I said was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. Yes, some racing this weekend. The Cup Series was off. They were off, a rare weekend off for the Cup Series. And their next event will be at Darlington. It's South Carolina. It's nice to see that race back on Labor Day weekend like it had been like forever. But sometimes the NASCAR schedule makers, they just, I don't know, it's a whole different breed of people making the schedule now. But they're taking a look in 2020 for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series to have more short tracks on the schedule because, in my opinion, short track racing, when I say a short track, I'm not talking like a quarter-mile place. I'm talking, 3/8, 5/8, 3/4. Because let's face it, watching a race on a 2.5-mile racetrack where it's like 50 seconds a lap can become boring. Yeah, Daytona's the Super Bowl of NASCAR, and there's a whole different feeling to it. Talladega in Alabama, everybody's waiting for the big one. But to watch a race like in Michigan, it's like watching grass grow. Just my opinion. So I really hope the powers to be go back to the days when the Grand National cars ran smaller racetracks. Yeah, some of it has to do with sponsors, because when you had the Darlington stripe, because the way you came off at turn 4 and turn 2, you had to rub the wall just a little bit, or you weren't in the right groove. The numbers would be scraped off, the sponsor logos would be scraped off. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you pulled into the garage area, you know where you want racing. And if your car is in a little dinged and danged, then you weren't racing hard enough. So it would be nice to see some of that, because that's what fans want to see, is good, hard racing. They don't want to see follow the leader. And I know this stage racing was developed by NASCAR to make it a race within a race 2 or 3 times, depending on the miles, to make it interesting. Folks at NASCAR, it's not working. It's the same guys that are winning these stages, getting the same points, and it's just not the same. Let's shorten those big races, maybe. Maybe you could do that, shorten them. They don't need to be 500 miles and 4.5, 5 hours of just, watching the cars go in a circle. When and tell me, and don't lie, raise your hands if you're out there, because I can see them, because the way these new TVs work, we can see what you're doing. Now, not really, but somebody said they can. But anyway, raise your hands. How many people turn the race on, they sit on a couch, they get their beverage, they get their snacks, and by like lap 10, you're sleeping? I know I am. And I know I am. Don't touch the remote, because I'll tell you, I'm watching that. But people don't get this. It's not interesting, and I'm not going to blame the announcers. And a lot of people say that announcer's no good, this announcer's no good, that no. I don't want to. I turn off the sound if this guy's talking. These announcers, and believe me when I tell you, are pretty much told what to say and what not to say. You never hear an announcer on a race, and think back, say, "Oh, car number 10 blew a tire." No, because that's an insult to Goodyear. So they say, "Had a tire go down." Think about it. Think about it. They don't say a motor blew. He lost the motor. I don't know why, but that's why they do it. Well, I know why, but anyway. Yes, the Xfinity Series. The Xfinity Series was at the Road America. I'm sorry, I said the wrong place before. Road America. And what we have the results here is Justin Allgaier was the winner there, with Matt Tifft second. Daniel Hemrick was third. Cole Custer fourth. Elliott Sadler fifth. Justin Marks sixth. Ross Chaston seventh. James Davison eighth. Brandon Jones ninth. And Andy Lally out of Northport, Long Island, New York, rounding out the top 10 in the Xfinity Series. The Camping World Truck Series was also there as well. And the Camping World Truck Series went like this. We have Justin Haley is the winner there, followed by John Hunter Nemechek second, Brett Moffitt third, Timothy Peters was fourth, Matt Craftston fifth, Johnny Sorda was sixth, Stuart Friesen seventh, Austin Hill eighth, Noah Gregson ninth, and Alex Tragliani rounding out the top 10. So that's what happened there. Like I said, the Cup Series was off. and they're headed to Darlington. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Series was also off this past week, as they will be heading to upstate New York, Oswego Speedway on September 1st. And that's always a good event there. The K&M Pro Series East went all the way out to Gateway Motorsports Park to be rained out. And that's a long trip to make, to be rained out. It's that kind of stinks, because a majority of the drivers and teams are from the southeast, the south central part of the United States, so we go out to the Midwest to be rained out. And I know NASCAR did everything in its power to get that event in, being an insider to that and having to deal with that. You know, it's like a three-way thing with the race director, the series director, the track promoter and operators, and the higher-ups down at the NASCAR headquarters. What they do is they look at weather patterns, they see what's happening, they look for a window. If you can get half the laps in, it's an official race. If you don't think you can, you ride it out till you think you can. And I'll tell you what, I have to say, let's pull the plug. We can't get this in. It's a tough deal. And sometimes those races can't be made up just because of the way the scheduling is, because of the logistics of it. The tracks have other things scheduled, that series has other things scheduled, and it's just hard to revamp everything. So it's a shame when you have a rain-out situation. So it's a shame for the K&M Pro Series East, they don't have a lot of races to begin with. And before I forget, I want to wish a happy birthday to my good buddy Mike Jarecki of MyRaceNews.com, who took over MyRaceNews.com from the late Walter Johnston, who's a good friend of mine and a good friend of our show, George. So happy birthday, George. I hope you're out there listening. I don't normally do happy birthdays unless you're a real good friend of mine. One of my family was something to that effect. But happy birthday, George. He kind of fills in for me. He filled in for me once when I couldn't be here. And I felt that the show must go on. So happy birthday, George, who has been traveling all over, covering all events. And he actually had my daughter up covering the New London Waterford Speedway event a couple of weeks ago. So she takes pictures from MyRaceNews.com as well. And it's all good. Birthdays are good. People say they're getting old. You're not getting old. Just enjoy each day, every day, have fun. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some NASCAR news and what went on yesterday here in Bayshore, Long Island, when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Look, just scrolling through the chat room, so it's nice to see that we got people in the chat room and a good portion of people in Facebook Live, so thank you, everybody. 22 Figure 8, a staunch regular. The only time he misses a show is when he's at a Ranger game or the playoffs are on TV. So one of these nights we'll have 22 Fig 8 on as a live guest if we could coordinate his schedule. It'll be good to talk racing with 22 Figure 8. But anyway, so yesterday they held the annual Himes Museum of Auto Racing Nostalgia Reunion, and an event I've been going to for a number of years. And yesterday was no different. I had a great time. The weather was wonderful. It was gorgeous. And in talking to Marty Himes, he's informed us that yesterday's reunion will be the last reunion. We have some footage that we're putting together. We probably shot about 4 or 5 hours worth of footage that the week after next we'll probably have ready to air. Some nice interviews, some nice stuff came out of there. And I'll tell you, you know, when you walk through the place, now, let me tell you, it's not like you go to the Museum of Natural History in New York or the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., but when you walk in there, everything you touch has history. Everything. Everything in the house, on his property, the lots surrounding his property, and it's all good stuff. And I'll tell you what, when I walked into this one garage, I'll call it a garage, I says, and I walked in, and again, you know, and it's been there for a number of years, but every time I see my NASCAR pit road fire suit uniform hanging next to the race uniform my daughter Jessica used winning her championship in 2001 in the junior sportsman champ kart division, it just gives me the chills. And, you know, I didn't have that with my dad where we were into racing, because my dad thought racing was a waste of time, money, and energy, and it was more valuable things you could be doing than sitting on bleachers watching cars go in a circle or climbing underneath the race car and getting your hands dirty and ruining your clothes. But you know, that brought back such fond memories of seeing my daughter's suit hanging. And even some of the sponsors that were involved with my daughter's racing, who we couldn't have done without. And I'm gonna mention some of them now. And number one is Bonsignor Car Shop, which was the dad of Justin Bonsignor, the current Whelen Modified point leader. And you know, you had that. And then I looked at, you know, of course, my own company, JTL Enterprises, which is still going strong. But then I looked at, you know, Paddock Auto Body, Al Lamarino, who always made sure we had tires and rims, and Pete's Auto Body, and the late Mike DeBella, who painted it, and Magic Mike Masuliak, who lettered it for us, and things like that. Doctors About Care, they've been on our race vehicles since 1994 and will always continue to be. And you look at that suit and you just look at that and you're like, wow. Wow. And Trailer Transport, you know, with Bill Dennison, who got me started in this go-karting thing with my kids. And, you know, and you look at these things and you're like, And then I go in another room, and every official shirt that I ever wore in every series, whether it was the Winston Cup or was the NASCAR Weekly Series presented by Dodge, or you know, all the series along the way, and I see those shirts hanging up in a section, and you're like, wow. And then Marty and I were talking, and we talked about how one man's junk is another man's, you know, treasure. So when you look at those things and see stuff hanging, you know, it's like when a driver walks in there and he sees his helmet or he sees his race car, and it's like, wow. And you know, you see the look in these guys' faces. And I was trying to explain to somebody what we do there, and I said, what we do there is we look at the stuff. I mean, I'm there for 505 on, you know, and Inravio.com TV, but I also go there as a former driver, former official, and we sit and we share stories. And yeah, the 10-lap race became 50 lappers, and the 50 lappers became hundreds, and you started dead last or a field of 40 and you won. You know, but when you really started on the pole and just blocked, so, you know, those stories, it's just good. And you, like I said, it was hard to explain to a newbie what it is and how it is. And, you know, and I see somebody said they've been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, and wow, you know, and I said, I've been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte and enjoyed Marty's place more year after year, and that's so true. You know, I've been to the Hall of Fame in Charlotte, nice, beautiful, pristine, aesthetic place. Can't touch nothing, except for the hands-on little games. But at Marty, you could touch whatever you want. You could touch whatever you want. And I had a long talk with Marty. We're going to air his interview in a couple of weeks. And I talked to him. I've known Marty Himes a long time. I don't remember when I didn't know Marty Himes. Let's put it that way. But it was all good. And it's a shame it's the last one. And part of the reason for that, he's 79. It takes a lot of work to keep it going, getting it ready for what they consider a show like that. So I'm going to go out to my people here that are on Long Island, New York City, Metropolitan, North Jersey, Southern Connecticut. You guys in Connecticut, hop on the ferry. Go visit Marty. Tell them you're coming. You get a personal tour, everybody. Call him up. Because I'll tell you what, his heart, his soul, his life is into preserving racing history. And I've said this time and time again, if you name a driver to Marty and say, Marty, you have anything from that guy? He'll go like this, he'll go. And within minutes, he'll come back, he'll have something in his hand, and he'll say, I got this from that guy's ex-wife on this date from this speedway and this car, and the car was owned by so-and-so, the crew chief was this guy, and then that car was so, and then he can give you the history of the cars. And when you see that, and you talk to him about that, it's just, you just sit back and you want to just listen. And I know it's going to be edited out, but when I was interviewing him, it was over. The interview was over. The light went off, and Marty kept talking. And my camera guy flicked the light back on and said, can you say that again? And we went another bunch of minutes. Because I'll tell you what, if you need to go there don't just think you're going to go in and go, oh, nice, and leave. You need to spend a day there, at least, minimum. And then after that, make a note of what you didn't see. So I can't wait to air the stuff that we did there. And again, I want to thank Marty and his entire family for working hard and putting that together and preserving racing history. And it's not only Long Island racing history, it's racing history. If he could get it, he has it. And, you know, like you told me, nothing's for sale. It was given to him as a donation. He's not selling it. It is stuff that he'll sell, his personal stuff, but the stuff that was donated, he will not sell. So take a trip there. Call him up. Call him up. You could find him on the internet. He's on Facebook. You know, at least the museum is. It's run. That stuff is run by his grandchildren because he has no idea what an internet is, and it would make his day. It would make his day. And I'll tell you what. I consider Marty a friend, and I don't use that term too lightly to people. That term friend, and I consider Marty and his entire family my friends, and they were always good to me. Always made me feel well. Anyway, what do we got going? Hey, sponsor stuff. We know I always talk about sponsor stuff. I talk about sponsors, how to get them, how to keep them, you know. And well, this sponsor news bothered me. And it's not a lot that bothers me. Those in my circle know that. But NASCAR driver Connor Daly lost a major sponsor last week because his father used a racial slur 30 years ago. All right, you can all stand up now. Everybody just like, whoa. In the 1980s, Daly had signed Lilly Diabetes for his first race last Saturday in the Xfinity race at Road America in Wisconsin. Daly, who was a type 1 diabetic, he also and had become the first diabetic driver in the IndyCar series, found his sponsor to create an awareness for diabetes, what to look for, how to treat it, what to eat, what not to eat, et cetera, handing out stuff at the racetrack, creating an awareness for Lilly diabetes. Now, his dad, and it's like, it's almost 40 years ago because it was in the mid-'80s, made a racial slur. Somebody called him out on it. And Dad goes, yeah, I said it was like 40 years ago. The sponsor pulled the plug. Now, I'm going to say this, folks. What is wrong with America today? That you're going to be held accountable for something you said 40 years ago, and then in this case, that company's going to pull. It's not like his son said it. His son wasn't even born yet. So it's not like his son signed his sponsor and was out, you know, doing public speeches and saying, yeah, that, and saying, making racial slurs. Somebody said his dad said this. The dad said, yeah, I said it. And they pulled the plug. Now, I don't think that's right. Not by a long shot. First of all, it was 1,000,000 years ago. And second of all, the kid didn't say it, his dad did. So does that mean I'm going to be responsible for things that my dad said? Well, you're going to be responsible for things that your dad said? Well, let's go even further. Maybe an uncle. Maybe through DNA, they have a blood relative that might have said something. And these companies are so entrenched with, we can't say that they're going to pull a deal. Now, maybe that was the plan. Maybe that was the plan all day. Because they're probably getting more ink and more press time with that announcement than I would have to see this kid run in the back of the pack in the Xfinity Series. Not that he was going to run in the back of the pack, but you get my drift. What is wrong with corporate America today? What is wrong? I can't believe this. And I just saw it in the corner of my eye, the chat room, and they think I'm going back to that. Remember that little segment I used to have, the Joe ran? It really is not. It's sponsor news, you know? I just can't believe that they pulled a deal like that over something that was said almost 40 years ago. Come on. Corporate America, stop the nonsense. People have a right to say what they want to say. It's our First Amendment right to say what we want to say. Just as with Lilly Diabetes has a right to make claims against their competitors. They have a right to do that too. I don't see the government shutting them down from making comments about their competitors. Enough on that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk about some things. I call it, when I do my outline, I call it stuff. We're going to talk about some stuff, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in racing moving forward when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Mert Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Yes, it's nice to see all the nice remarks, and not only in the chat room, but in Facebook Live. And if I miss you, I want to say hello to everybody. And Mike V. Ride, Van Houten, driver to INEX, legend car number 3, a former guest on our show, is loving the fact that I'm wearing red because he has a red car. So if I could turn around, there's a 3 on my back. Not. But you have fun with those things. You really do. And, you know, look at some of these people here for, our racing community is so tight. It's so tight. And, Marty's daughter, thanking me about talking up the museum and that. And you know what? When I go to that place, first of all, I never go empty-handed. I have so much racing stuff that I wonder, like, when I die, what are we going to do with this? My kids are going to, why did you have this crap? They're going to throw it in the dumpster somewhere. But when I go there, I go through my closet and I go through box. I say, what am I going to bring to Marty? Because, I'm old school. When you go to somebody's house, you're supposed to kick the door. Now, people are like, why would you kick a nice door? Because your hand should be full of what you're bringing. And I always bring something. And, one year it was my daughter's championship jacket from 2001, which when I tell my daughter, ask her why she didn't wear it, Dad, it's ugly. I said, look, that jacket cost me like $10,000. Dad, you were stupid to pay for $10,000. I didn't pay $10,000 for the jacket. It cost me $10,000, so you had the right to wear it, But I have stuff from the Winston Racing Series, and I have stuff. I have parts. I used to have doors from every race car I ever drove, and then they disappeared in the middle of the night somewhere out of the shop. They'll show up again. Somebody got them. They'll be rusting in somebody's backyard, but that's all right. That's all right. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But when you go in there and you see that, and then you get thanked for, to be thanked for what comes to me naturally, I get humbled by that. And I go there, I have a lot of respect for Marty and his family, and Marty has a lot of respect and his family for me as well. And when you give him something, the look on his face, and I gave him a jacket. I gave him, in 1998, I became a NASCAR Winston racing official at Riverhead Raceway. And I got a jacket. It was a little tight on me because I was a little heavier back then. It was a large, and people look at that jacket and said, you really fit into that? What were you, 9? But when I gave it to Marty, we took the picture. Then he lifted it up, and when he saw I signed it, he goes, oh, man, you signed it. That's awesome. And, to me, it's not that it was junk to me, but what am I going to do with a jacket that, A, I can't wear, and B, is part of racing history? Well, why not give it to the guy who preserves racing history? And that's Marty Heim. So I appreciate the accolades, but trust me, I don't need those accolades. I do it because it comes natural, and and that's what I do. You help your friends, treat your friends really good, and it all comes back to you. But again, when you look at these things, and this stuff now, any race, I've gone to race museums, and it's okay. You see some stuff, and usually geared to a series or a person, like down in Virginia, when the Wendell Scott is a little place down the road not far from South Boston Speedway, where a lot of Wendell Scott's stuff is. The first African-American to win a top series event, number 34. And it was a movie based on his life, Grease Lightning, starring Richard Pryor. But when you go to some of these racing museums, and you see stuff, and you're like, wow, But But when you go to a racing museum and you see cars and you say, I remember watching that car race, or I remember that guy. And tucked in a corner in Marty's area where he keeps some of the old stock cars from the day was the 45 of the late Walt Edsel, who brought me along as an official and unfortunately was killed at Riverhead Raceway. He wasn't killed at the track, but he died a few weeks later from injuries suffered at the racetrack while I stood next to him. And there was an old-timers reunion at the racetrack, and a bunch of the old cars were there. And Marty came up to me and said, you want to drive Walt Edsel's car? Do I want to drive Walt Edsel's car? Of course I do. And I hopped into that red and white number 45, and the primitive seatbelt I put across my lap, and I'm sitting there, and Marty comes up to me and goes, now take it easy, because this car has special tires. And not from the movie Days of Thunder special tires, but special tires. I said, really, Marty, what kind of tires? He goes, they're called Maypop tires. Maypop tires? He said, if you go into the corner a little too hard, they may pop. We got a big laugh out of that. And I went and I did the laps with this nostalgia race and had an awesome time. And pulling off the racetrack, my friend Mike Graver-Buxer took a picture. Again, didn't think anything of it at the time. And then he shows up around the holidays and gives me a box with that picture in an 8x10. Of course, I still have that picture today. And it's stuff like that, when you walk into a museum, a racing museum, that it might mean zero, zilch, nada to most people, but to some people, it's everything. So, you know, a lot of us who watch this show also know a lot of people who are involved with racing who don't watch the show and should be. And yet they have those old doors and fenders and hoods and helmets and fire suits they'll never wear again. But take a ride, donate it, give it to them. You want to make an old man happy? Do that. You know, do that. Get rid of that stuff. Because, you know, I know so many people have race cars sitting in their backyard, and just like I-70 Speedway, the trees are growing through it. The kids use it as a jungle gym. You know, they pull the doors off it, a trunk deck or something. You know, give it to them. Old parts. You know, give it to me. I'll bring it to them. You know, if you're too shy. But that's what, you know, preserving history. And the late Jackie Kennedy Onassis, who traveled the world, said the problem with Americans is we tear down our past to build a future. Now, a lot of people in the 60s didn't understand what she meant by that. But think about it. Think about if you took America today and went back 5,000 years, and every time they wanted to build something new, they knocked down old. The pyramids wouldn't be here. Rome would be decimated. It would be all condos. None of that stuff would be here. Because Americans just tear down and build up. Tear it down, build it up. Race car drivers sometimes, you know. What happened to that horse? I cut it up, went to the junkyard. Okay. You know what? That might have been something to somebody. You know, you bend a front clip, a rear clip, something, roll cage, car's useless. All right? And if you're just going to take a torch and make it into 6-inch sections to make it easier to throw in the back of your pick-em-up truck to bring it to the junkyard, there's something on that race car that somebody else could have used, whether it be an axle housing, front spindle, pedals, something. Because you can't keep going and get this aftermarket stuff and paying big dollars. You don't need to do that. And that's what's killing racing today, because nothing's fabricated. You got to go buy it. Go buy it. You know, and it reminds me of a crew chief and a driver who came into my office. And I disqualified them because the part was questionable. And the rule book stated the part must be factory stock. Guy says to me, he sits back with confidence, because I made him read the rule. He sits back like this. Joe, it is factory stock. I says, no, it's not. He goes, well, the way I see it, yes, I was told, it was built in a factory, and when I called up to get it, they had it in stock. I said, you got me. You got me. Immediately changed the rule to original equipment manufacturer at the discretion of the official in charge, which was me. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up. I think we're close to that time. So I'm getting, yeah, maybe. So I want to thank everybody. You know, I look back and I'm reading some of the things, and yeah, John Casale wants me to get together for some drag racing. Hey, I got cleared from the doctor, Johnny. I could do it. I could do it. I could drive now. You know, I don't think I could crash going straight. I don't know. If you want to take the chance, let's do it. John Casale, Long Island needs a drag strip, one of my good buddies. But anyway, I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for watching, talking, participating. I see some people I haven't seen in a long time, not only in Facebook Live and in the chat room. Thank you. And, of course, my regular people. And 22 Figure 8, you might need to take an option, a paid day or something. You might need to have like a virus, and so you can come on live with Talk Racing. But again, thank you everybody for doing this. We will not have a show next Monday night. It's Labor Day, the end of summer. So spend some time with your family and enjoy it. And remember what these holidays are for and what they're all about. So spend some time with your family, because as racers, we don't do enough of that. But anyway, again, I want to thank everybody for this being a part of this show tonight. And wherever your endeavors will bring you this week, please be safe, please be careful. Give somebody a hug, tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.